Brr, Coney, it's cold.
What are you doing, buddy? Are you staying
Well,
warm?
uh, I'm trying to stay warm. What are you doing? You staying
I'm
warm?
trying to, I'm trying to stay warm. Trying to
Well,
keep my pops from freezing.
we've had some extreme weather.
Yes, very extreme.
That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Extreme weather. You ready?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm ready too. Here we go.
Thank you for watching or listening to the Overland Podcast. We're excited to be here. We're coming to you live as we do each week, bringing you the latest in all things outdoors and overlanding. The live show contains listeners, so join us with your comments and questions. Here we go. No pros, just bros on this show.
No pros, just bros. Oh my goodness. I tell you what, for the last 2 weeks, our heat has not been able to keep up in the house. It's been so cold. And I think I've had a hoodie on for 2 weeks straight.
I'm telling you, I'm not used to wearing hoodie with my shorts in the house.
What? Yeah. It's been one of those kinds of weeks when the weatherman actually got it right when he said, "Holy cow, it's gonna be cold," and he was right. It was cold. But how y'all making it up there in the NWA?
Yeah, we're doing all right. Last year we had a little bit of a situation where the water, when it comes in our garage by the water heater, it froze right there. So this year I've been, sort of watching that closely. I got Tate from Overland, from Okie Overland, told me about these little remote Bluetooth sensors. So I've been sort of testing sensors around the house and put one in there where the water comes in, and checking out the garage and doing all these things,
So you got your garage bugged?
I got it bugged.
You got it bugged?
Got it wired and bugged, and anyway, so
we've left the cabinet doors open every night, left the water running every night, and so far we've skated through. I believe I saw where Misty posted that their pipes had froze on their house, so we're gonna find out after they get back from Tennessee if that's an ordeal.
Yeah,
I know it got cold up there in Deer or Jasper or wherever they live.
Yeah,
and their house is actually up off the ground. It's not on a solid foundation, so that. Man, those are tough.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, the weather has been has thrown us a curveball.
It's been pretty cold, colder than usual.
It's been cold. We've actually seen a daytime temperature reach 1 degree. Up around the OARC, I think it said it was supposed to be 1 degree with negative wind chills. I'm pretty sure that most of the state saw single digits with several inches of ice and snow.
Yep.
Now, I remember growing up, we used to get a good snow maybe every 2 or 3 years. And it's crazy with all this global warming that we're having. We get it like every year now.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it, but
what I don't remember as a kid is ice.
Yeah.
I don't remember having, ice storms or things like that. It was just snow.
I remember back, what was it, the year 2000 when the big ice storm hit the state and pretty much shut down everything. That's the last big ice storm, the huge ice storm, or first one that I remember. And then we had another one about 2018 or something like that. But
we had one in 2009, and we were without power for over a week.
Shoo.
Yeah, it sounded like shotguns going off with all the trees busting and stuff. It was crazy.
That is crazy. My goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we've had some events that have come up in the last week that have made me start thinking about extreme weather, and made me start questioning myself. What's my limit? What is the determining factor that makes me say, nope, ain't doing it? I'll stay home and work on projects, or I got things to do around the house, or I can do something in the garage. I can turn my diesel heater on, stay in the garage, turn propane heater on, work in the garage. Because if we're gone every weekend, there's a whole bunch of stuff around the house we don't get done. There's a whole bunch of projects that we don't get done. So what is the determining factor? And I kind of questioned myself on that, and got to thinking about that with this weather that we're having. In 2022, I was eager to get out of the state for multiple reasons. And I met Porker at your house, and it was early June. Like the day school was out, I was at your house. We spent the yard, and then the next day, me and Porker headed to New Mexico. We made it to New Mexico that night. We left that morning, made it to New Mexico. We traveled up to the Great Sand Dunes and spent the night there. So crowded. We actually infringed on somebody else's camping spot, and with it, we asked them for permission, but we shared a camping spot with them. We planned to go up over Madonna Pass, but due to a landslide of snow, we weren't able to go, and so we had to reroute, go a different way. We ended up going up over Gunnison, Cumberland Pass, and we stayed up at like 9,000 feet. And I remember being up there. It was beautiful sunny days, but the wind started blowing, and the wind was blowing 20 miles an hour at least. And it got down in the mid 20s, well below freezing. And for like 2 or 3 nights straight, we were in our tents at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and stayed there till 9 o'clock the next morning with little Covea heaters going in there. We didn't take diesel heaters. I thought, we ain't gonna need it. It's a summer.
Yeah.
I'm not taking a big diesel heater because it's summer, and I'll just take these butane bottles with this little Covea heater, and it'll be just fine. And we put awnings out, awning walls up. Didn't have any propane fire pits or anything like that because
it was summer.
There was no room. There was no room to take them. I really am interested in this new propane fire pit that's made out of a ammo box. Ammo box.
Yeah.
Fire can or something like that, because they're small. And I thought, man, that would fit in my vehicle. That would be really nice to have. But at the time we didn't have that, and we hadn't taken any of that with us. And
but at the time it was also June.
It was June, summer. Okay. And I was not prepared. I had taken one light coat. I had taken, no base layers whatsoever. I was not prepared for this. We did our best to stay warm, but it just wouldn't work. And we ended up staying in our tents each night for 14, almost 15 hours. And if I hadn't prepared and, uploaded a whole bunch of movies onto my Samsung tablet, I would have been just going stir crazy.
Yeah.
Because, you're up there with no service. So I downloaded all them on my tablet and watched them. But
so just paint a picture for me. What was the elevation? Was you above the tree line?
We were not above the tree line.
Still in the trees.
Yeah, we were at about 9,000 feet, I think, 8,500, 9,000 feet, just above Pitkin.
Yeah.
We went up a little ways, but we weren't above the tree line at all. And we were down in a valley. I thought we would be shielded from the wind, but was just not prepared. Not prepared at all.
Yeah.
Later on that trip, we met up with you at Denver. We went to a KOA, got us a camping cabin, was able to wash clothes, take showers, do all that mess. You met us there. And then we headed up into Wyoming, which driving up there was one of the most beautiful drives I've ever been on. It was amazing. But when we actually got up into Wyoming, we went up over another pass, found one of the most beautiful campsites right beside a river that was snow capped, and you drove through snow having fun, and we sit up. And I remember us
I about got
getting
stuck.
out, getting out the buddy heaters, and we there was three of us, and we were almost sitting on top of each other,
Closer than three men are supposed to be. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this is dumb. I'm freezing to death, and I'm sitting in here almost making out with you guys. And and finally we just said, screw it, we're getting in the tent. And there we went back again, 5 o'clock in the evening, getting in our tent, staying till 9.
Yeah.
It misted rain. I remember one night, the night we spent before we got into Denver, we finally found this little campsite just west of Denver in a national forest campground, and freezing fog froze our tents. I had to get up there on my tent and hit it with something to break it free because it was completely frozen.
Yeah.
I was not prepared. And, of course it makes for good memories, but it was a lot of misery.
Yeah.
A lot of misery.
And poor Porker, he was cold and he didn't have his mattress sorted out. So
Yeah.
he
It
wasn't
wasn't
even
getting any sleep.
comfortable. No.
Back was hurting.
Yeah.
Just
He was having a rough time with it. Yeah.
Yeah, rough time. Well, I think that last night that we spent there in Wyoming he was like, I'm done. You got to get me out of these mountains, get me down. And that's when we went from one extreme to the other, because we went from being up in Wyoming freezing to death down there at Big Iron where it was 100 and something degrees every day. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd rather be freezing.
Yeah. Yeah. It didn't take long to stop complaining about being cold.
No, it didn't. Not at all. And let's see, rendezvous in October of 2023.
Yeah.
So what was the weather forecast? What do you remember the weather forecast being for rendezvous?
What I remember from the forecast was that it was going to be shorts weather.
Well, of course you say that because that's what you were wearing when you got there. And if anybody came to rendezvous, and I know there's listeners on here that came to rendezvous, we get there and I'm thinking, this is not what I thought it was going to be. The first day was beautiful. The stars were just magical. And then that Friday, oh my gosh, the wind started blowing, and the wind was blowing 20 miles an hour at least. And the temperature dropped, and I thought, holy cow, this is not what I thought it was going to
be. Back to your question, I think the wind is what I overlooked. Either I didn't see it in the forecast, or I think she was talking about the propane heater that you were like did Jeff have one at Rito? Did he have a little? Did he have one of those little propane heaters in a ammo can?
Yes, he did. That's exactly what she's talking about. Jeff had one of those. Gotcha. That's what I was talking about. He got it off Facebook Marketplace. He said he gave like $50 for it. And I was like,
oh, nice.
I tried to give him his money back, and he wouldn't.
He wasn't having it, huh? So yeah, I don't know if I missed it or the weatherman missed it, but I don't remember any wind.
Yeah. I don't, and I need to start paying more attention to that, because that's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. The wind is kind of a big deal. It makes all the difference in the world, especially in Arkansas where there's humidity and wind chill factor.
Yeah, and Kansas, wind is a big factor in Kansas.
But I remember you calling Arla and say, "Bring me some pants,
baby. Please bring me some pants."
I had a puffy jacket. I had a hoodie. I had a puffy vest, and I had it all on. I was wearing all of it, and I still couldn't get warm.
You heard of people talk about, or say the phrase, ugly crying or something? I was ugly shivering. Baby, bring me some pants. And she did. She hooked me up.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Well, a couple weeks ago, it was January the 12th. We had a Go Explore trip planned, and we were to meet at Birds Adventure Center. That was going to be the meeting place. Brad likes to meet in a place that everybody knows. He doesn't, he doesn't give out coordinates because a lot of the people that go on his trips are new, and they can't read coordinates or enter those into a map. So he likes to meet at a place where people can find, usually on Google. And so we're going to meet at Birds, January 12th. We picked this week because it was a holiday weekend. Martin Luther King Day was on Monday, and that was going to give us a extra day where most people wouldn't have to take a vacation day. Mm-hmm. That was going to be a perfect weekend. We were going to do Saturday, Sunday, Monday up in the Ozarks. Mm-hmm. And it would give us the time to do a 3-day trip where normally people couldn't get off to do a 3-day trip. Right. So approaching the time, the weather forecast, it started looking like, I think you were the first one that texted us that said, have y'all seen the forecast? And I'm like, no, what's up? I know it's January. Yeah. So something stupid's about to happen. It's Arkansas. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
There was
gross
talk of temperatures between 1 and 8 degrees, and that's during the day.
Yeah.
1 degrees and 8 degrees during the day, with highs in the single digits, lows in the negatives at night. So it was going to be -4, -5, whatever. Once you get to negative, it really don't matter.
No.
Then the threat of snow and ice came. First it was going to be Saturday. On Sunday, it was going to be snow. Up there, it was going to be 6 to 8 inches of snow. In Central Arkansas, it was going to be 3 to 4 inches of snow. Where you live was going to be about 5, 6 inches of snow. So it got us to the point where we were having to decide, what are we going to do? And it wasn't like we were trying to get out of anything. Mm-hmm. We had a responsibility of going on a trip or being staff members on a trip where people actually pay to go on this trip. And we had to think about everybody, not just us. I had to think about, okay, what gear do these people have? Do they have rooftop tent, ground tent? We had to think about a ground tent, because if there's snow on the ground, where are you going to put a ground tent? Are you going to have a way to clear it? Different things like that. So how do we get these people into this area and then prepare for this kind of weather? How do we keep people warm? How can we set up our area where we can feed people and eat comfortably? That was my area. And so, when I'm thinking about cooking and preparing a meal for these people, I want them to be able to enjoy it. Are we going to have a warm place for them to eat? If it's 1 degree outside, you're not going to be comfortably eating your food. No. And so, what about the trails? Will they even be drivable? We knew there was a lot of water. It's rained a lot. It's going to be frozen. Will you be able to get anywhere? What about the roads? Is it going to cover the roads around OARC in that area? They're probably one of the last places that's going to get the roads plowed, right? Or salt or sand or anything covered on the roads. And these roads are not flat and they're not straight. So is it going to be safe? And the main question that we asked, okay, if we get up there on Friday, this comes on Sunday, we're done on Monday, will people be able to get home? There was people from 4 or 5 states coming. Will they be able to get home? And so that was, we had to consider this, and we had to talk about this amongst ourselves, and we had to be mindful. Not only can we do it, can we get there? Do we have the equipment to be able to do this? But can we get home? We needed to consider the safety of everybody. So we talked it over, and we made the decision. We were going to base camp. This was like on Tuesday or Monday or Tuesday. Okay, we're going to base camp. And that way, when we get there, we can set up an elaborate camp. We can put walls on awnings. We could set up, different things where we can enclose. Everybody brings a propane fire pit, and we can do real wood outside, propane fire pits inside, and that way people have different places where they can gather, try to stay warm. We plan to pre-make. Danielle was going to make pre-make pretty much all of the food, and I had some stuff that I was going to pre-make as well. So instead of us cooking elaborate meals like we were going to, like we normally do, there were a lot of conversations in this. I don't want to be cooking in 0 degree weather. Um, how do you even know that your propane is going to work? I've had propane freeze before.
Yep.
And it won't come out. And so pretty much everything that we cook with is propane. So if propane freezes and you can't cook, okay, there you are, no food. So I was really not looking forward to it. And I was very upfront with that. I was very open and honest with that. I told Brad, I am not looking forward to this, because if it was just going to be 3 or 4 of us doing this, just going up there, camping out, doing whatever, okay, we can stay warm, we can do whatever. But if people are coming in from Missouri and Illinois and Kansas and Mississippi and Louisiana, and they're coming all this, and are they going to be safe? Can we make them comfortable? Is it going to be worth their while? And can they get home? So there was a lot of conversations, a lot of text messages in that week. And I was very open and honest with Brad. I'm not looking forward to this.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I agree. Okay. I'm the first one to admit the photographs would have been epic. They would have been great. Drone footage, epic. So good. Matt McClellan went out and did some drone footage of the Ozarks with the snow on the ground. Beautiful. Unreal.
Yep.
He did some photography on some of the waterfalls, on some of the trails. Beautiful. Chris Carroll posted a picture today in his truck sitting in the snow. Beautiful. Now the snow adds something that you don't normally get. You don't have this year round unless you're like Michael and live in Alaska. You don't get this every day, and so you take advantage of it. I know. The snow and ice on everyone's tents, with them being able, not being able to close or shut or be zippers freezing, eating in the cold, being able to see everybody's breath that they take, makes for some good pictures.
Yeah.
I am the first to admit that.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. But there are some temperatures that heaters cannot keep up with. No matter what kind of heater you have, the walls of our tents are only so thick. Now, I've never stayed a night ever, and I've stayed what it got down to in the single digits when we were at Woolham that time. And diesel heater, amazing.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, you got to come out of that tent. Yeah. And I did not want to spend the whole weekend inside my tent. So the whole idea of camping is to be outside, and, to experience the outside. But if I'm stuck in my tent the whole time, I mean, I've got a way to eat in there. I've got a way to pee in there. I don't have to come out. But I was going to have to come out this time because I was responsible for making meals for everybody else.
I refuse to pee in my tent. It's not happening.
It's not happening. I've got it down to an art.
No, I'm not doing it. It's going to be a calamity if I attempt to do something like that.
Back when I used the old Gatorade bottle method.
Oh yeah.
There was a calamity.
Yeah.
Super misfire.
Yeah. See, I don't want none of that. I'm operating a misfire-free situation over here, so.
I've got it down to an art. I've done it several hundred times now. Yeah. And as old as I am, we're pretty close to the same age, but as old as I am, it's about 3 times a night, and I'm not getting out of my tent. I'm not doing it. But I can't hold it all night. So I went on, I think I was at school one day, and the nurse at school said, I got to telling her about this, don't ask me how this conversation came up. That's weird. But we got talking about, she's like, what do you do? How do you do all that? Oh, well, I'm Gatorade bottle. And she's like, have you ever seen a portable urinal? And I'm like, what is that?
What?
Blew my mind. Portable urinal. My only urinal in my mind is this big white thing that's attached to the wall that you go in and you hit the deal and you're done. I didn't want any giant porcelain thing in my tent, but she said portable urinal. Went on Amazon, typed it up. Yeah, it's a answered prayer, is what it is. It's real long, flat bottom, big tube. Super good. Love it.
Not for me.
Okay. Well,
it's all right. It's all good.
Anyway, Allison Lindsay posted on here. She said, Farito, I remember expecting a day of rain, but I don't think I expected the cold temperatures either, at least not as cold as it turned out. I agree. And I believe
I'm not the only one.
I believe Allison, if I'm not mistaken, went on the Polar Bear Camping Club trip this past weekend. Allison,
I think she did. She was also at the listener. She was also at the listener camp.
Also at the listener camp out, which that was cold, but not near what this other cold was.
Oh no.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are based out here in Oklahoma. No, we're based in Arkansas. We're in Arkansas. Tony's in Northwest Arkansas. I'm in Central.
He's in Central. I'm about this far away from Oklahoma.
Yeah, on a map, it's about a quarter inch.
Yeah.
Allison said yes, she was there.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We would like to get some input about the Polar Bear Camping Club. In fact, we'd like to have you on the show. If you want to come on the show, Tony will send you a link.
Anybody listening, say, I want to come on and talk about my experience, and I'll send you a link, and we'll bring you on right now.
Yeah, right now.
Right here. Let's go.
Allison will come on.
Come on, Allison.
I'd love to talk to her.
I'll send you a link.
About the Polar Bear Camping Club. So anyway, the Go Explore thing. Eventually, we decided to cancel the event. Mainly not because we were scared of how cold it was going to be, but because the main factor was wanting everybody to be safe and be able to get home. And so that was one of the things. It was the right decision. And I know it's the right decision. We saw several accidents that happened up in that area. And the temps came, snow and ice came with the fury. The roads were completely covered. And it would have been awful. It would have been awful trying to get everybody home and get everybody home safe. And, I told Brad, I said, you'll never be able to live with yourself if somebody has an accident when they leave your event. So we canceled the event.
Well, I mean, and you've touched on it already a couple of times, but the wind, you can't, if you think about how you're going to get warm when you're asleep, it's a diesel heater. When you're outside your tent, it's a propane fire pit or it's a fire.
Yeah.
But when they're calling for 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts, you can't have a fire.
Right. And you've got to have some way to block that wind.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, a propane fire pit will do you no good.
That's right.
It'll do you no good whatsoever. You've got to have walls. You've got to have a gazebo of some kind that has walls. Otherwise, it's going to do you no good. Yeah. You can stand around a bonfire, but eventually it's going to go out. And a real fire, those are good. But the problem with a real fire, and even a place when you're outside, if you're around a propane fire pit, the part of you that is up against the fire is warm. The backside of you is about to die with frostbite. Yeah. And so you constantly have to turn around. Have to turn around. But anyway, so the Polar Bear Camping Club. This was this past weekend, hosted by our good friends at Okie Overland, out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Good friends of ours, sponsored the show. We love Kyle and Tate. Super good guys. If you need anything that we're talking about, Lindsay says she'd come on. If you need anything for this, check them out. Okie-overland.com.
All right, Allison, I'm going to send you a link through Facebook real quick, and we'll get you to come on here and tell us about your experience.
Yeah, just a few minutes. You don't have to stay the whole show.
Yeah.
So anyway, let me give you some background about the Polar Bear Camping Club. This is a pretty neat idea. Rhino called us about this He's known throughout the overlanding community. He helps out with More Expo, and he's Chris's right-hand man for Big Iron Overland Rally. He lives out pretty close to there. Drives this huge white van that he has properly named Vanna White. White van, Vanna White.
Yep.
Genius.
Blends in with the snow.
It does. So he wanted to create this event where people register, they camp, they get a patch at each event, then camp at More Expo, and camp at More Expo, and then they have a main, what is it, a plaque or a patch or something that they all stick to or something like that. So you get 4 states, and then you get a big thing to attach the patches to, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I think it looks like a really nice wooden plaque.
Okay, wooden plaque.
Yeah.
And so it's a good idea. And the whole idea is leading up to More Expo, you camp in 4 different states in 4 different months. So January, February, March, April, and then More Expo is in April. So we were going to do our first one in December, but we just couldn't get it together. And so it's January, February, March, April, and then you camp at More Expo. You get 4 patches. Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So this weekend was the very first one in Oklahoma. And they met somewhere. What's the name of the place where they were camping? You remember? Hate to put you on the spot there. I don't remember.
Copen Lake.
Copen Lake.
Yeah. Gosh dang it. I'm going to have to look it up.
So the whole idea is to get everybody outside in the elements of winter, test their camping setups, their skills or whatever, and have community in times where most people are staying indoors, or like smart people are staying indoors. So this past weekend, they had the event in Oklahoma, sponsored by Okie Overland, okie-overland.com. The temps were down. How cold did it get? 15, 16?
I think it was. I thought it was closer to 10.
Okay.
On Friday. 10. See, some of them went Friday night.
Okay. There were 80 rigs.
Osage Plains.
Osage Plains. Okay.
Yeah.
There were 80 rigs that were registered. And about
yeah.
a half of them showed up. That's a little below typical. It was free to go. So if it's free to go, it's pretty easy to not go. You don't have any investment. There's nothing to lose if you don't.
No skin in the game. So it's
no skin in the game. It doesn't cost anything to register. So to go to these events, if someone is registered and they don't show up, they have nothing to lose. Now, there was a post about the event that said the ones who didn't show up were weak. WEAK, weak. Now I can understand you calling somebody out if there's a process. You register, the amount of people who are registered, or the amount of patches that are made. You know, we figured out that they had the patches made beforehand, and they actually didn't know how many people were going to go, so they had to get them in time because they handed them out there. Now, somebody has to be fitting the bill for all these patches. You know, Okie Overland paid for the patches. So if 80 rigs are going, in theory, they're going to say, hey, Jared at Shop Overland Apparel, we need 80 patches. Because the only way that you can get one of these patches is to go to the event.
Mm-hmm.
But calling them weak for not showing up, I'm not sure that you can throw everybody into that barrel. Personally, I don't have anything to prove to anybody. You know, if you want to call me names for not going to something, that's fine. I don't care. I don't have to prove that I can camp in single digits. I've done it. I know I can do it. It's not fun. I don't like it, but I've done it, and I will do it again. You can't put on enough clothes to stay warm and enjoy it.
Oh, here's Allison.
And so I understand this, but there's certain reasons why people can't go, and you never know why somebody can't go. They may have an emergency.
Yeah.
You actually had something come up. Your wife's vehicle broke down. She had to get it towed, and that's her daily driver. So you had to stay home and get that thing going.
Yeah.
Because you are her personal mechanic.
Yep.
And so, people have different things where they can't go. Now, I know there's some people that said, "Oh, that's going to get down to 9 degrees." Forget that. I don't have the resources, or I don't have the equipment to be able to deal with that. So I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
Well, here's Allison. Allison,
Hey.
thank you for joining us. Appreciate you being here.
Well, thanks. It's great.
Tell us about this weekend with the Polar Bear Camping Club.
It was awesome, I gotta say. I left Saturday morning from Rogers and met those guys up there around noon. I bet 10 rigs set up when I got there.
Yeah.
And the convoy got there maybe an hour or so after with, I don't know, 30, 40 rigs came in. It was insane. They just kept coming. So, anyway, it was well attended, and it was a ton of fun. Chili cook-off Saturday night was great. We had 17 different chilies, so I think that went over well. They had great prizes.
Nice.
It was chilly. I'd say I was warm. I was warm the whole time because I have like insulated coveralls. I had a base layer. I had jeans. I had my vest. I had my jacket. My face was cold and it's chapped. I feel like it's sunburnt now.
Yeah.
But it's like crispy. Other than that, I was warm. Except I don't have a toilet situation, so I go to the woods, and that part was chilly because you gotta strip with the bibs on. Then you gotta take
really hard.
You gotta take
And
the
it
whole
takes
upper
forever.
layers off, and then you gotta take
It
all
takes
the
forever to take all those clothes off when you got them on. Yeah.
So not to be, but that was the thing. So definitely I need to invest in something, some kind of little porta potty, I think, for me.
Now you have a little camper that you pull, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and how do you heat that camper?
I do not heat that camper. I don't have a heater at all right now. I do. There's a onboard air conditioning heater, but they only work on shore power.
Right.
So I don't have a generator. I don't carry a generator. So typically, Cooper sleeps in his little tent outside, but it was too cold for him to be outside, and I needed him inside. So for the warmth, so he and I just cuddled in there, and I had a crazy thick down comforter that I took, and we were warm. I do have, so that the camper I have comes with a heated mattress. Those GeoPros, I guess they all do, and I'd never used it before. So I plugged it in to my Bluetti like before I went to bed, and I think that helped. I think I have a 4-inch mattress topper on top of it, and I didn't know if the heat would get through it, but I think the heat at least melted it so that memory foam wasn't a block of ice anymore.
Right.
Maybe when it gets cold. And but we stayed warm. I was warm in the camper through the night. So, and I know there were a couple of people that had diesel heater issues. Battery died. Maybe a couple of people ran out of fuel. And I heard rumors of people leaving during the night, and maybe that was why, but I wasn't aware of it, so.
Oh, wow.
Do they have wood fires going in different spots, or propane fires or anything like that to stay warm?
Yes, to everything. There was one massive fire, of course, that I was around most of the time. It was big and it was very warm, but you have to do the rotisserie thing. And then a couple times, like when I wandered around through the rigs, there were other little wood fires going. There were propane fires going. So yeah, there were a lot of separate little fires going, and then there was the one main one in the middle. But I think everybody around that stayed pretty toasty.
Yeah. Well, it was a perfect night to have chili. I know that.
I'm so bummed I missed the chili cook-off.
Probably couldn't have picked a better meal to have in that. So that was a perfect meal that Tate picked out for that. So you were able to stay comfortable pretty much except for your face.
I was kind of surprised because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
going into it that cold. But yeah, I was not uncomfortable.
But did you have any apprehension once you saw how cold it was going to be? Did you have any apprehension at all about going and just decided to go anyway, or was it no big deal?
Yes, I did. I questioned it a couple of times. And I'm like, I'm not, if there's other people going, I'm not going to be the one to puss out. Like,
Yeah,
do this thing, like.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't been camping. I guess since the listener camp out, which I like to go kind of every couple of weeks, and with the temperatures, it's been cold anyway. So I was ready to get out, but I did doubt it.
Yeah.
And there's a couple times I thought this was just really stupid, and why go when I could stay in my nice warm bed and go another weekend.
So is this the coldest you've ever camped in? Was this past weekend?
Probably. Like I lived in Colorado for 20 years before I moved here.
Mm-hmm.
I did some winter camping up there. But I think it was probably not, it's probably just in the teens, maybe. I don't think it got to single digits when I was out there camping.
Yeah.
That I can remember. I can't remember it being colder.
Yeah.
Do you remember what the low was this past weekend?
What's that?
Do you remember what the low temperature was this past weekend?
No, I wish I knew, but I don't.
I was trying to remember what the forecast was. It seems like it was low teens, but
yeah, it was somewhere around 10 or 11, 12.
Yeah, I think so. I know Friday night was a lot colder, and that's why, I had to work Friday and it had been late when I got up there anyway. But Friday night, I think it was supposed to get down to like 2 or 3,
What about the wind? How was the wind? Because normally in Oklahoma, you can't go anywhere without the wind blowing you over.
Yeah.
But I did not notice the wind. Yeah, and I'm the same way. I'm okay with cold, but wind, I'm not a fan of at all.
Yeah, same here. Same here.
Saturday, I don't remember the wind being an issue. Packing up on Sunday, I felt like I could not get away from the wind at all. It was blowing a lot more. I feel like on Sunday morning, like getting packed up.
Well, that's cool. Well, I wanted to get a firsthand listener camp or firsthand polar bear camping club camp out person who actually attended it to come on here and tell us how it was. So we appreciate you coming on and sharing with us.
Well, thanks for letting me. I appreciate it. I think they did a great time. The patches are beautiful. So
they did
I'm excited to see the other ones. So,
are you going to be able to go to the next 3 events? Do you know?
That's my plan.
Okay,
they're on the calendar. Yes.
Right.
That's cool.
Right.
Hopefully, I can make it.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you very much. Have a good evening.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Allison.
Yep. Take care.
So I like hearing that from somebody where, I had a little apprehension about how cold it was going to be. But, the roads weren't bad. The roads were clear. This was a time, between the 2 snowstorms when they didn't have anything blocking the roads. Everybody was able to travel safe. Yeah, it was going to be cold, but travel was not going to be a big deal. So, that's good. To go and not even have a heater, that's impressive to me. I was kind of shocked because I knew she had a camper trailer, the little camper trailer that she pulls, but for her to say she did not have a heater at all, and to go where it was going to get down to 10, that's cool. I like that.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And it sounds like they had a really good time inside and outside. You can tell if it's really cold outside if you're bundled up and you're layered up and, you have gloves on and your face gets chapped. That's cold. I read a lot of books about the guys who go up on Mount Everest and stuff, where it's so cold that if your skin is exposed at all, you get, frostbite. And so, when it's that cold and it starts chapping your skin, that's the first stage of that. So it was good to hear from her. And even afterwards, as cold as it was and the issues that she had, not having a heater, having to go to the bathroom out in the woods with no heat whatsoever, and I understand about having to shuck all these clothes to go to the bathroom because with my day job, it takes me forever. I can't wait till last minute. Otherwise, something's going to get tore
You're going
off
to
or
have to go
ripped.
home and change uniforms, aren't
I'm
you?
going to have to go home and change uniforms. That's the way it works. So I understand that. I feel for her on that.
Yeah. Got
But for her to
coveralls.
come back now that it's over and she's experienced it and say how much fun she had, talk about all the good things, seeing everybody, how it was well attended, the chili cook-off, the patches, how cool they were. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So you make the best of it.
Yeah. So any of our listeners that were there last weekend, let us know if you're going to, the next ones. See what you think, and tell us in the comments what your plans are.
Yeah. Well, so how do you do it? How do you stay warm? For her, it was a heavy blanket. She brought her dog in. They cuddled for body warmth.
Mm-hmm.
Shut all the doors and everything. Just lock yourself up inside and try to keep yourself warm under the covers. Dealing with extreme weather is no joke. You can get hypothermia, you can get frostbite, and it's miserable when you're not prepared.
Yeah.
And so, I was talking to my wife earlier about this. Started Overland, and I was watching videos of everything. I watched videos of everything. I watched Overland Bound, the Overland Bound dude, and he puts out this video. He's got a
Michael, that's his,
Land
is
Cruiser.
that his name?
Yeah, he's got a Land
Yeah.
Cruiser, an older
Yeah.
model 80 series Land Cruiser, and he does this video at the back of his Land Cruiser. He says you can be ready to go on any weekend trip in less than 15 minutes, and he shows all these bags that he has pre-bagged or whatever. So he's pre-made all these bags, bag full of clothes, bag full of food, a lot of this other stuff. He had like 4 bags. He throws in there. He's like, got everything. I'm ready to go. Now, if you're going on a camp out, on a trip, overland trip, whatever, where you're going to spend the night, and it's going to get down 10 degrees, 15 degrees, even 20 degrees. This is not something you want to hurry with.
Mm-hmm.
You want to double check and make sure you've got everything. If you run a diesel heater, there's so many different components that you got to make sure are there and working. So what kind of fuel? We talked about fuel today. I think next week we're going to talk about heaters, and mainly diesel heaters, because these are kind of a big thing now. And there's a million different ones, and people say, which one should I get? Well, it pretty much the only thing that's different about them is the exterior, and the interior mostly pretty much all the same. But fuel, if you don't put additive in your diesel, it'll gel. You use kerosene, it doesn't gel, so it may run a little bit better. I had no idea until me and you talked in West Virginia that a diesel heater could run on kerosene.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
When it says diesel heater, I think, well, it's got to have diesel. That just makes sense to me because I'm a black and white kind of guy.
See, I think that was actually the last time I ran diesel in mine. I was finishing off a tank. I had a diesel, but I brought kerosene with me. I'm pretty sure that's whenever I switched to kerosene.
But you can mix it real, right?
Yeah, yep. A lot of people will mix it. I mean, I think even in the installation instructions that come with some of the diesel heaters, it'll say, for cold weather, you can mix 50-50 kerosene. I run 100% kerosene and have now for almost 2 years. So.
Yeah. And you've never had a problem with it gelling?
No.
Wow.
No. But the way it's set up now, and I don't know if you want to get into that this week, but the way it's set up now, with the way Oki rebuilt it for me, and I still haven't had a chance to take it out and use it. I've tested it in my garage a couple of times, but the way they built it, the tank is on the inside of the unit, a sealed unit, and it keeps the heater itself keeps the inside of the box warm, like it keeps the fuel warm. So
I know on a diesel heater you've got a little the actual unit that heats up is inside there, and so it's gonna produce a little bit of heat, and a lot of them have just a really small hose that goes between the unit and the exterior. So you may have a little bit of a heat in that hose right there. So yeah, if your fuel tank is inside, which the very first one that I had was a square one I got off Amazon, and the fuel tank was inside of it with the unit. So yeah, it can build up a little bit of heat in there, and that will keep it from gelling or doing anything like that. But
well, just today, whenever I did the test, it got up to 101 degrees in the box, inside the box. Now that was based on an ambient temperature in the garage of 58 degrees. So that's like a 45 degree swing. So when you take the ambient temperature outside then down to 0 degrees,
right,
theoretically inside the box is still going to be 45 degrees.
Which is not cold enough for
Not
a diesel
cold enough, not even close. Yeah. So,
but you also, in preparation, you also have to make sure you have a power source, because in order to run the fan, in order to power the unit, you got to make sure everything's charged. So I made the mistake one time of not having my my battery pack or whatever I had. It wasn't fully charged. I get out and my diesel heater turns on and turns right back off. And I'm like, what's up? And I turn it on, it turns right back off, because as soon as it powered up, it didn't have enough power to keep running, and it will not stay running.
Diesel heaters are temperamental. They can handle running out of fuel, but they cannot handle running out of power very well.
And if it gets down to, I think it's around 30%, it won't run it. If your power pack or fuel pack or Blue Eddy or whatever you've got that's powering this, if it gets down to 30%, it won't run it. It'll shut off. And so you got to make sure, that all that is, I keep mine charged all the time. It's plugged in. When I'm at home, it's plugged in, because it won't overcharge. It'll charge till it gets 100% and it'll stop. And then, but I make sure it's charged all the time, because I don't want to make that mistake again.
Yeah.
Walls, having awning walls, huge.
They can be just almost as big as, that's just got to be, if you're going to be outside and it's cold like this, you got to have the walls.
When we were at the listener camp out in December, it got pretty cold one night, and you had the awning out with your walls, you have like the biggest fire pit I've ever seen. Propane fire.
It's like this.
Humongous.
Yeah.
But you had that thing set on low, and we could have been in there in shorts and t-shirts. It was so nice. And that's with one whole end of it towards your Gladiator was open. Yeah. That's just, it keeps that. It's amazing. It's amazing how much heat you can put in one of those.
Yeah. And it all goes into, having the walls is one thing, but you have to plan out, you have to know which way the wind's blowing when you park your truck.
Yeah.
You want it, like in that situation, I want it blowing towards the back of the truck. So like I want it pointed with the direction of the wind, because when I set the walls up, the wind just goes up and over.
Right. We had been camping down there before with Joe and Misty, and I had taken my clam, which is a gazebo. It's a lot like the gazelle tents, but it's got one open door. And you and I sat in there with my little fire pit, and it was just warm as it could be. I mean, it was like being in a sauna. It was amazing.
I almost had to take my shorts off. It was so hot in there.
And we also camped down there with Scott when it got down to 12, 13 degrees that night. He had his clam set up, and it's amazing how it will butt up against your awning. He had the walls on, and then he actually slept in that. But we were gathered around in that with a little propane fire pit going, and it was just comfortable as it could be. Inside there, as soon as you walked outside, wind and 15 degrees. So awning walls are a huge thing. Gazebos, huge thing. Propane fire pits. I mean, and that's why I want to get one of those ones that's in the fire can, because they're so small, and I have a small rig. I don't always have my trailer. I want to be able to carry one of those, because even Jeff had that one at Rendezvous, and we were just sitting around it, and it was putting off plenty of heat. It was nice, just having it wide out and open. And that was nice. Warm clothing, can't beat it. I see you've got your new Cotopaxi jacket on you got for Christmas. Base layers, I have discovered merino wool. In backpacking, merino wool is fantastic. freaking tastic base layers.
Dan Marino wool.
It's not Dan Marino wool. Dan
He said
Marino
Marino.
may have come up with it. I don't know. Did he play for the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Back-
it doesn't have
a
dolphin
ways back.
skin in it, but
A way
it's
back.
got wool in it.
Yeah.
Merino wool is a base layer that most people who are backpackers, they use it on the Appalachian Trail, the PCT, because you wear it as a base layer, and it keeps you from sweating, and it doesn't make you stink. And so, if you can find some merino wool to use as a base layer, it's also one of the most comfortable things in the world to sleep in when it's cold. So, base layer, t-shirt, hoodie, puffy coat, gloves, sock hat, whatever you got to use to keep warm. Warm clothing is huge. So, whatever you do to stay warm inside your rig, figure it out. Figure out what makes you have a comfort level. Because if you are able to do it and stay comfortable, you'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
She could have said, "Screw it, I'm not going," but she said, "I'm going to do with what I have, and I'm going to go, and it's going to be fun." And she had a good time. You definitely do not want to take very little time in planning. You want to plan, prep, especially when you're packing. Make sure you don't forget anything. You don't want to forget anything. You want to charge your power station. You want to bring your awning walls, because a lot of people don't travel with them all the time. You don't want to forget your heater or even a backup heater in case one of them fails. You want to make sure and pack the right clothes. More than likely, if you're going for the weekend, you're going to be wearing the same clothes. So go ahead and put your base layers on so you don't forget them. And then pack accordingly after that. Don't forget your propane, your butane. You don't want to get out there and not be able to fire a heater or be able to cook or have extra, because you're going to use extra.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that we were also worried about on the Go Explore trip, was running out of propane.
Yep.
And so, because you run fire pits and you cook with it as well as using heaters with it, you're going to use a lot of propane. Preparation, the key to happiness. Most people are not weak. They're either unprepared, they don't have the right gear, or they have things that come up.
Yeah.
You can control two of the three. One of them you can't control.
Yeah.
So, extreme weather. It's one of the things that you're going to have to deal with, because, like Brad always says, we Go Explore, we can control a lot of things. We can't control the weather. And we have been out with Brad when it's come a actual flood, when it's rained 6 inches in 2.5 hours. We've been out with Brad where it's rained every day. We've been out with Brad where it's hot, when it's cold.
It almost sounds like he's been hanging out with Cottywomple.
No kidding. If y'all don't know Cottywomple, you need to watch some of their videos, because I think it rains every time they go.
It's a joke. Every time
It
they
is a
go
joke.
out, it's like there's rains all the time. Anyway,
it is a joke with them. I love talking with them because they wear it like a badge of honor.
yeah.
In fact, I've had them on the show twice, and one time they were on the trail sitting under something because it was pouring down rain. And Bill said, "You should have known if we were going to do this, it's going to be raining."
We should see if they want to come on again.
Yeah, I'd love to have them. Love to have them. They're busy these days. But
I know it.
Anyway, hey, thank y'all for being here. It was great to visit with everyone. Thank you for the people who actually took time to comment and participate in the show. Thank you, Allison, for coming on the show for just a minute. It was great to have you. And I tell you what, dealing with extreme weather is something. If you want to know a little bit more about extreme weather or how to deal with it, that's what we're going to be talking about next week. We're going to be talking about diesel heaters, propane fire pits, warm clothes, different things like that.
Fire.
That will help you. Fire. Me, strong man, make fire. Oh man, Blackbeard fire plugs. I don't know if y'all have seen those, but they can put those in water, take them out, and they will light.
I know.
Really cool. Well, hey, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful week. On behalf of Tony and myself, thank you for being here on the Overland Podcast. Have a great week. Look out for number 1. Don't stem at number 2. See ya.